What's going on, Manna Church? Good morning to you. We have come to the final day of this week's Morning Manna with your boy, Pastor M. Thank you for coming along this journey with me each morning. I really appreciate it. And speaking of journey, I remember the first car that I bought. It was a 2006 Nissan Altima. It was gray, and I had a lot of favor with the dealer when I bought it, so I named it Grace. Like, that's fitting, right? Yeah. Man, let me tell you, I loved that car, and I hated the day that I had to part with her. We had a true connection. I can honestly say that I really knew that car so much that when the gas light came on, it was like we had an understanding. I could recall talking to the car like, look, Grace, I only got $100 to the end of the week, and I still got to pay my cell phone bill, still got to get something to eat. I need you to hang in there for a few more days. Don't have me out on the side of the road looking crazy, you know, and she understood. And people didn't understand our connection. They didn't understand the connection that I had with the car. They would get in the car and get all frantic when they see the gas light come on. And I'm like, chill, bro, we good. Like, we got enough to get there. And I told them, I know my car. And they would say things like, you know, that's going to jack up your engine. That's going to mess up your engine a bit. And then I would kind of come back, you know, with the $1 million question. You know what it is. You got some gas money? Well, all right then. And Grace and I, we had gone the distance. That gas light coming on was simply her communicating with me. Granted, it took me going all the way up to the point where it almost ran out to discover just how far I can go. But I pressed in and stretched my faith a bit, and it was all good. Even though it was an Altima, me and that car always seemed to be on one accord. Now I know some of that probably went over some of you all's head, but you get it later on in the day. But in looking at relationships and marriage, it's critical that both individuals are on one accord. One of the best ways to shoot for that is to continue to learn and know your spouse. How does your spouse like their coffee? What's his or her favorite flower? When she's sick, does she like chili or soup? When he comes home from a tough day at work, what is it that lifts his spirits? And this isn't something that happens overnight. If you're married, this is an ongoing process. It takes time, and actually getting it wrong a few times, fellas, a word of advice, you'll always be a student in this game, so make sure you are always learning her. Just like I knew how far I could go with my car before it would quit on me, it's important to know your spouse, as well as their limits and their boundaries. And I wouldn't recommend testing those limits either. Metaphorically speaking, if you see the gas light come on, I advise treading lightly. In many cases, my wife knows what I'm going to do or say before I do it. She knows how much money I want to spend before even going into the grocery store. I know when she's not in the mood to cook, it's on me to try to figure out what we're going to do for dinner that night. I know when it's going to be a rough day for her by the tone of her voice when I kiss her goodbye in the morning. I know if she ever tripped over a pair of my shoes that she's asked me not to leave in the middle of the floor when I come in the house, this will probably be the last video that you will ever see of me. But guess what? That's me and her and I being on one accord. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 8 says, all of you have unity in mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. When you're operating on one accord, it's a lot harder for miscommunication to happen. When you're operating on one accord, you can have peace when there are tough decisions and discussions that you have to have. When you're operating on one accord, it makes it difficult for the enemy to creep in and create division between two people. Being on one accord may take time, and it definitely takes some intentionality. As life goes on, things change, and we change. But I encourage you to never stop learning and learning from each other. So that way, as the change happens, it happens together. Look, man and family, I've enjoyed our time together this week. I pray that these devotionals, our time together, has been helpful, that it's been a blessing for you as well. I believe that with God's help and us following the things that He has put in place for us to do, we can experience life-giving relationships, friendships, and marriages. Manna Church, we love you, and I pray you have an amazing day. Join us this weekend, whether it be online or at one of our in-person services as we continue in our current sermon series. I pray. God bless you.